Boomer and Gen X parents, the number one thing that is preventing you from reconciling with your estranged child is your goddamn pride.
Welcome to Let's Glow with Nini. I'm Nini. Let's get straight into this video.
How many of us as kids made simple, normal, everyday children mistakes, spilled the milk, and it turned into like your parents screaming and yelling in your face? Some people even got beatings behind that for normal childhood stuff. Like, children make mistakes. I'm sorry that my fine motor skills haven't developed well enough for me not to be making mistakes like this. And it would be like, not just like yelling, but screaming in your face. That was all of elementary and high school and middle school. Teachers screaming in your face. I mean, it's wild how much abuse, how much verbal, emotional, mental abuse, and physical abuse, and other types of abuse that we had to deal with at the hands of these boomers. And it was such a I got transported back when I'm reading through these comments, and I'm like, damn, these people just come for you. And it's wild. And that manifests in how they parent and why their adult children don't want nothing to do with them anymore. Boomer and Gen X parents, the number one thing that is preventing you from reconciling with your estranged child is your goddamn pride. Period. Most of us, we understand that you did your best, because that was another one of those gaslighting I did my best. Yeah, we know you did your best. Especially all of us who have grown up and become adults. Like, we know how hard being an adult is in this society. This shit sucks. It's a headache. We know y'all were going through it. We know y'all are the products of abuse. We know your parents, the silent generation before, we know they were treating you like shit. We know that y'all are traumatized. We know that y'all were suffering and struggling with everyday adult life. Y'all were in these toxic marriages trying to raise us. We know all that. We have given you the grace for that. It's not about, it's not about us acting like we don't know what you've been through. We do know, and we've given you the grace. The issue is that y'all are not changing. You're still doing the bullshit today. You're still doing the same stuff, and you don't want to acknowledge what happened in the past. That's the other form of gaslighting. Y'all have created these fantasy, ideas of what our childhoods were like. My mom is a big culprit of that. It's like, baby girl, you act like we were best friends. We were never best friends. You used to tell me that I'm not one of your little friends. And now that I'm an adult, there's this fantastical world of my childhood that you've invented and are trying to impose on me. And you're mad that I'm not rocking with it because it's false. And a lot of people came in my comments to tell me that that's their experience too, of their parents like trying to have these close relationships now when they never made that effort to cultivate those close relationships when they were children. It ain't adding up. And then the selective memory, how they forget all the things that they did to you growing up, all the horrible moments. I didn't do that. No, that didn't happen. And of course they forgot, right? Because for them, that was just a regular Tuesday. But for us, that's what we're sitting on our therapist's couch crying over for years, trying to like work through.
Things that I didn't expect when I went no contact with my mom. I have been no contact with my mom on and off for the past 10 years, but I would say it's been pretty consistent for the last 5 or 6 years. When I say no contact, I mean no contact. I don't have her phone number. I don't have her address. She met my son, but only once when he was 2 years old, and now he's about to be 7 years old this year. And she's never met my daughter, and she has not met my fiance. And the one thing that I did not expect when I went no contact with her was the amount of people in my life that would meet me for the very first time, find out that I'm no contact with my mom, and then ask me to mend the relationship. They would just automatically assume that that was my first course of action, and I did nothing to try to make the relationship between me and my mom work before I cut her off. And what I need for people to realize is that is the result of trying to make the relationship work. The no contact is the end of something. It's not the beginning of something. Typically, adult children that have gone no contact with their parents, that wasn't their first plan of action. They tried for probably many years to make the relationship with their mom or dad work. I know for me personally, there were years where my mom didn't take accountability. It wasn't just one conversation. True healing between two people cannot happen if only one person is acknowledging the trauma. And then even once the trauma is acknowledged, there needs to be a change in behavior. And it drives me absolutely insane when people just think, oh, you took the easy way out by just cutting her off. That was not the easy part. That was a very difficult decision. And it's a decision that I personally do not regret because I know everything that took place and I know that I'd made the best decision for myself. And as a result of not having contact with me, she also does not have contact with my children. And I've said this in a video before, but children, no matter what the age, do not owe their parents anything. And that includes contact with their grandchildren. Parenting is a one-way street. It always has been that way. It is a job that you do not get thanked for because your children did not ask to be here. You did not have to have them. I also didn't expect the fallout that would happen with other family members because of my decision to cut off my mom. There are family members that don't talk to me, mostly siblings, just because of the fact that I won't have a relationship with our mom. And that's okay too, because although we have the same mother, I do realize we had a different experience with her based on the amount of time that we spent around her. I'm just saying, if you meet a person and find out that they're no contact with their parents, please respect their decision. And keep in mind that it is always the parent's responsibility to mend that relationship. It's never the child's responsibility, no matter how old they are.
Now, I don't understand why some parents act so surprised when their kids go no contact, knowing damn well you treated that kid like a servant more than you treated them like a child. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some amazing parents out there. But then there's a select group of parents that traumatize their kids, that never allowed their kids to speak, never created a safe space. And to be honest, you're one of the reasons why your child deals with so many different issues like anxiety, because you stressed that kid out. That kid never was allowed to be a kid because you forced them to grow up fast. Now, a lot of parents are going to say, I was young, I tried my best, I did everything I could. That still doesn't mean that you ever had the conversation where you apologize for all the wrongs that you did to your child. If you as a grown adult, 40, 50, 60 years old, still can't self-reflect and listen to your child vent about the things that they went through, and you're just going to dismiss their feelings, that's why they don't want to talk to your ass no more. I understand this might make some of you mad, but a lot of these kids don't ask to be here. You sat up there and had that child. You sat up there and brought that child into this world. Now, if you did it in an irresponsible way and or you had a child before you was ready, are you going to put that onto the kid? Or are you going to take responsibility for your actions? At the end of the day, a lot of kids would love to love their parents and have that relationship. But a lot of adults act like fucking kids.
I've been seeing a lot of parents express how they feel victimized and confused by their adult children's decision to go no contact on this app lately. So as someone who survived her own traumatic childhood and became a trauma therapist largely as a result of it, I thought I would provide some clarity on this topic. You should count your blessings if the extent of the consequence as a result of your behaviors is that your adult children have stopped speaking to you. You're lucky that your adult children aren't practicing the principle of treat others how you would like to be treated when it comes to you. Do you remember the treatment you exposed us to as children? Consider it a luxury that some of you parents were so blacked out with rage or substance abuse that you don't. But we do. In fact, we spend years and thousands of dollars healing the wounds that you inflicted upon us on what for you was just another Tuesday. Some of you should have been sterilized. And let's be clear that many of you parents abandoned your children long before they made the decision to remove themselves from the relationships with you. In fact, some of you never showed up for the relationships in the first place. And don't pin your loneliness on your adult children leaving. You're lonely because of your inability or unwillingness to address your own unhealed traumas, the fear and pain of which fuel the abusive behaviors that alienate you from intimate relationships with others, including your kids. And despite many misconceptions, we do not expect perfection. Although in many cases, even as children, that was certainly the expectation placed upon us. Progress happens in the series of a billion baby steps, and your adult children are not responsible for doing the legwork for you, especially when many of us are busy doing our own healing legwork so we don't repeat these toxic patterns with our own children, which in my opinion is the bravest thing that we can do, in addition to a true testament to how dedicated we are to parenting better than we were parented. Of course, despite our best efforts, our children will still have their own opinions about the experiences of being parented by us. And when those moments come, the kindest thing that we can do for our own kids is acknowledge and apologize. Not because we were bad parents, but because even the best parents make lots of mistakes. Because reparenting yourself while parenting your own children is messy business. If maintaining relationships with your parents is making it hard for you to be the type of parent you want to be with your kids, I need you to choose your kids. That's a painful position that no person should ever be put in. But you have the power to make different choices, and I promise that your own life and the lives of your children will all be better as a result. Have a nice day.
When you have toxic parents or a toxic family, despite the ways they continue to turn their back on you, I'm sure you've heard it's not right for you to turn your back on them. We may only get one set of biological family, but that doesn't mean that that family is healthy or good for us. We know the saying, honor thy mother and thy father, but for some, that honor is found in distance. Sometimes it's more honorable to walk away. This is an honor that those who are not mature won't understand, because this honor says, by staying in connection with family that's harmful and unhealthy for me, even if it's silently, I harbor and direct nothing but anger, fury, resentment, frustration, maybe even hatred towards them. And those type of feelings directed at anyone are not honorable at all. But at a distance, those highly charged feelings have a chance to quiet, and I can deal with them and heal them without additional injury from a family that's harmful to begin with. The goal is getting to the place where one day, even if it's still at a distance, I hold and direct feelings of understanding and well wishes to the very parents or family that did me harm. For some, that's among the most honorable thing you can do, in the best way the circumstances allow. Boundary up. I hope this helps.
Hi, I'm Dawn. I'm an estranged mom, and I just say it like I see it.
So I've been no contact with my mother for 8 years, and this woman reminds me a lot of her. Go back and watch her original video. I will tag her so you can watch it, but the whole video is just her not taking accountability for anything she's done. Kids do not cut off their parents completely for small things. They don't cut off their parents for things that have only happened once or twice. A lot of people cut off their parents because they think there is no hope for them to change, and because that parent is never willing to take accountability for what they've done. This woman avoids accountability at all costs. First, she says that she treated, her daughter-in-law and son like garbage during her daughter-in-law's pregnancy because she had a brain injury, and she just had zero control over everything she did at that point. Then she mentions how her therapist says that her ex-husband and her daughter-in-law were kind of the problem. At least that's what it insinuates. Then she talks about her last kid that went no contact with her, and how essentially they were influenced by their other siblings, or that's how she makes it seem. And then she says, oh, but I've apologized, and I'm not exactly sure what she's apologized for, because the entire video is her not taking accountability for anything. She also mentions that her kids believe that she's going on a smear campaign by talking about this stuff. And I can relate. My mom would complain about me to anybody who had an ear open to listen, and she would talk exactly like this woman is talking. So many excuses, so many excuses, and never taking accountability. At some point you have to figure out what is more important to you, either your pride and ego or your relationship with your kids. Now, I'm not saying that even if she decides to give up her pride and ego that her kids would talk to her again. With the way she's talking and the things she's doing, I don't think there's any possible way they would want to speak to her again, and I know from my personal experience, I wouldn't want to. It's sad to see people's pride and ego get in the way of some of the most important relationships in their lives. But the longer you avoid accountability, not only does it hurt your kids, but it hurts yourself. You don't allow yourself to grow and change. And even if your kids never talk to you again, it would be beneficial to learn how to take accountability. It's so unfortunate to see so many parents on this app not getting it. I remember coming across this video and it was like, what is one thing that you wish your parents did? And I'm not kidding you, like 95% of the comments was, I wish my parents would admit when they were wrong. I wish my parents would take accountability. And there's a big reason as to why that is. I think because millennials and Gen Zs are prioritizing their mental health more, we are tolerating less abuse. We no longer accept that just because we are related to somebody, they get a free pass. Because in all honesty, from what I've seen, people my parents' age or people older than that, they accept abuse from their parents because that's what they thought the norm was. So I think a lot of these parents who are older are confused as to why their children are walking away. Because there's this toxic narrative that you're related to them, so they get a free pass. Or at least the child has to keep forgiving and keep forgiving. You are not owed access to anybody, especially when you're not able to own up to the things that you've done. I will say I'm proud of so many people in my generation stopping the dysfunction and not letting it carry on in their own families. Because that is not easy. It's one of the hardest things you could ever do. You are breaking cycles that have never been broken before, and that is huge.
Yeah, hello?
Baby, this is your mother. How come we don't talk anymore? You never call me, you never text me, nothing. We just don't talk anymore. What's wrong? What's going on?
I don't like talking to you because you hurt me, Mom. Like, you hurt me a lot. And I don't have nothing to say to you because you hurt me.
What? How did I hurt you? What did I do?
Well, there was that one time where you stole like $20,000 out of my bank account and then moved out of the state.
Oh my
That'll
God.
do it.
Oh, when are you gonna let that go? That was years
My people
ago.
get shot for playing with people money like that. Like, people commit felonies when people pull shit like that on them. Like, I don't get it. Like, people crash out about their bread all the time. I just don't put you in situations where you can be near my stuff. I don't.
Oh, so I can't be trusted now. Is what you're saying to me. I can't be trusted. Okay.
Okay,
fine.
well, there was that time you told my grandparents that I hit you when I didn't, because you and I were having a verbal argument.
What do you want? What do you want? I don't understand why you're still upset about that.
They died thinking that I hit you. They died thinking that I just had to deal with that until they died.
Well, you raised your voice at me. That's the same thing.
No, the fuck, it's not. No, it's not.
So you're hitting me again? So you're hitting me again?
We're on the fucking phone. How?
You're hitting me
How?
again. You're hitting me again.
How? See, this is why Dad fucking cheated on you.
Putting your
You're
hands
fucking
on me
insufferable.
again. You are physically
God
putting
damn,
your
you
hands
play too
on me.
fucking much.
You are physically.
I think so many millennials are going no contact with, the older generation, with their parents, because the older generation didn't understand the role of a parent. I think they sort of got it confused with like being a dictator or being like God, I brought you in this world, I can take it out, I can make you do whatever I want because I gave you life, and that's not love. I notice how God rules, and like in my community, at least a lot of them are Christian, and they think that, look, that's what I have a right to do. Because I gave you life, I have a right to do whatever the heck I want to do to you. That is not what a relationship is, though. And I think so many parents forget that the connection you have with your child is a relationship. And a relationship is two human beings growing together and learning together. Which means you have to give your child the chance to tell you who they are. One really great way to understand somebody is understanding their boundaries. Parents do not believe their children have a right to boundaries, especially boundaries that they don't feel they should have to respect. On the flip side, though, kids have a boundary problems with parents as well, because like they'll do small stuff like coming in the bathroom when you're using the bathroom, like shit like that. And while that may seem really, really small, what I don't think parents understand is this is a violation of each other's boundaries, okay? And while it may not look that bad when your child's a toddler and they're just walking in the bathroom, or if your child had a strong attachment to some scrabble piece of paper that you just can't throw away, that's your boundary, okay. As you get older, the boundaries change. But if you do not have a foundation of respecting each other's boundaries, it's going to be really hard to do that once you get older, which is really the problem why so many millennials are going no contact. I've told you not to do this. I've told you not to do this. I've told you to hold yourself accountable, and you continue to disrespect my boundaries. Well, I'm going to respect my boundaries, and I'm not going to talk to you anymore. But a lot of parents respect their children's boundaries based off of how it makes them feel, as opposed to how it makes the child feel when they're respected. I don't think parents understand, just like with any relationship, it's all the little things. It's all the little things that you've done over all this time. It's not the big grandiose things that you want to say, well, I did this for you and I did this for you. It's the small ways that you kept disrespecting me and kept violating a boundary. But that's not love. Love is giving your child the space to be themselves while loving and accepting them unconditionally.
Stop telling people who are no contact with their parents that they need to either make things right.
I think what a lot of people miss is that a lot of us didn't actually want to go no contact with our parents. We were forced to, because when a parent puts a child in a position where the child has to choose themselves and their mental health over the emotional, physical, spiritual damage that's being done to the child by the parent, it's one of the most difficult decisions that an individual can make. And I think it's really important to note that a lot of us understand the trauma that our parents went through prior to having us. We understand that they didn't have the resources that we have now. We understand that they didn't grow up the way that we have grown up with them. But all we have ever asked of them is to stop treating us as if what they've done to us has had no impact on us, especially when we've taken the time to understand how their lives and their parents have impacted them. I told my mother directly that I would rather be homeless on the street with nothing and have a healthy relationship with her than have her speak to me and treat me the way that she has. And it still didn't click for her. I went through some of the worst losses in my life, and she mocked the entire situation. So for me, when a parent kicks a child when they're at the low points that I have faced, you forced me to go no contact with you, because at that point, contact with you is causing me physical harm. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of us have very internal reactions to the hurt and pain that our parents have caused us that manifests itself in a physical nature. For me, I start shaking, I get night sweats, I start having panic attacks. It affects me to the point where I can't even mentally focus. And this has shown up in a plethora of my relationships, romantic relationships with partners who mirrored behavior of my parents, specifically my mother and my father. Well, yeah, those are my parents. I mean, I don't claim them. Anyway, what I'm saying is people have to push a lot of us to the point of no contact, because a lot of us want those very relationships that you guys are telling us that we need. That's your mom, that's your dad, that's your husband, that's your sister, that's your auntie, that's your uncle. Okay, and who am I? Who am I? Do I not matter in this equation? Because if I'm not going to matter to you, them, I have to matter to myself. Like, I can't just continue to put everyone ahead of me. And that's why a lot of us have chosen to go no contact. And there are plenty of us that are not going to come back for the inheritance because we never needed your money. We wanted your love, respect, kindness, protection, care. That's what we wanted. And I'm not saying that money doesn't matter, because it does, but what mattered more was love and respect for my parents, not what they gave me. And I've been an empath and a people pleaser. So, if I had to cut somebody off, I had to be pushed there, because doormats put up with everything.
I navigate the world as though my mom passed away. I don't tell people she's dead, obviously. Because I could always just unblock her and call her. I could always I know her address. I know, but I know what's going to happen if I open up that door. We're going to catch up. We're going to cry. We're going to apologize. And then 3 months later, we're going to be in the same exact space. And my nervous system can't handle that shit no more. So I navigate the world as though my mom passed away. When I miss her, I listen to the music that she used to listen to when I was a kid. I take opportunities to prop her up where I can. I always make sure to give my mom credit where it's deserved. I'm a person who loves birthdays because of my mother. My mother loves birthdays, and my mom always made birthdays special. She has great qualities about her, but those qualities don't outweigh the ways that she could have been a better person.
It don't overshadow the harm.
So it's not worth it. The other side of that coin is not worth the good side. So I just had to I just navigate the world as though she's gone.
I think that's an interesting concept, because I think for a lot of people, there's this fear, right, of I have to continue having a relationship with this person because someday they could die, right?
Yeah.
And what will I feel if this person passes away and we weren't on good terms, and I lose them and I lose out this relationship? But why doesn't that person feel guilty about the potential that I could pass away and they treated me like shit?
Exactly. And that's what I came to, is like, she doesn't give a damn how she's treating me.
Hey guys, so it's been officially 1 year since I went no contact with my mom and my dad. And because this is how I started my platform, I wanted to give like one last update and kind of put this to rest, because I've also decided to put that relationship to rest for good. And I'll kind of tell you guys how the interaction went and kind of what's led me to that decision. So one of my cousins got married in October, and so a lot of my family attended the wedding, and I anticipated seeing, you know, some of my siblings and my parents. So I was informed that my dad was there like the week before, because the week before was when we did the traditional wedding, and then we do like an American wedding the next week, or sometimes it's a couple weeks in between, just depending on how they want to do it. But they decided to do like one weekend and then the next weekend. So not everybody could stay, of course, because not everybody can get 2 weeks off of work. But my mom decided to attend both. My dad went to the traditional wedding, but he didn't go to the American wedding, which is the one I went to, so I didn't see him. But regarding my dad, he's never tried to reach out to me, like basically since I moved to Houston, which has been 3.5 years, going on 4 years. He's never tried to reach out to me, and like growing up, he was never really there anyway, so it hasn't really been like that much of a difference that he hasn't been reaching out. But I just think like it's the fact that we haven't talked in years and he's just never tried to reach out. So a big part of me is still like healing from that and is still upset with that. But the fact that, you know, he knew I was going to be at the wedding and still like didn't try to coordinate or like, hey, what day are you going to be there? Maybe I can be there at the same time so we can see each other. Like, it just like solidified for me that there was no urgency or any need on his end to, you know, reestablish a relationship with his youngest daughter. So I decided to finally accept that, because like I said, I still had hope for that, but you know, it's okay. So then with my mom, I did see her there because she stayed for both of the ceremonies. And when I first saw her, you know, when you get like that feeling, like that pit in your stomach when you know something, like it's like, it was like nerves, but it was also like, I just had like a pit in my stomach because I didn't know like how the interaction was gonna go. I didn't know like how she felt about me, and I didn't know if I even wanted to talk to her. But she is my mom, so of course like I also missed her and stuff, but I also know what comes with having her in my space, you know? So one of my uncles who I've never met before, I know who he is, but I've never met him before. He saw me and he stopped me and he just like introduced himself, and I said, hey, how's it going? And he had the look in his face, which I immediately knew that like my mom had told him everything about our like relationship and, you know, what has been going on. So he immediately jumps into that, like no buffer. He just was like, so what's going on? Why aren't you like interacting with your mom? Why aren't you saying hi? And I was like, well, she saw me and she didn't say hi to me. Like at the end of the day, I'm the child, you know. But when it comes to like African parents, they're just very, very, very hard-headed, very stubborn. So I knew that if there's ever going to be any like reconciliation, I'm going to be the one that's going to have to just like forgive everything and put everything on the back burner, sweep everything under the rug for us to ever have a relationship. And the fact that she saw me and refused to say hi to me first, I think that solidified my decision for me, because I just decided like, obviously I'm not important enough, and obviously the love is not strong enough for you to, you know, put your pride to the side for 1 second to say hi to your daughter who you haven't seen in so long. So yeah, she refused to say hi to me. My uncle tried to facilitate. He tried to be like a mediator, and she just like wouldn't say anything unless I was the one who said it first. And I'm thinking, I'm the one with the grievances. Like, why are you now acting like, you know, you've been offended? So to conclude all of that, over the last 3.5 years, and especially the last year, I've really come to terms with my relationship with them. And, you know, I'm okay with what it is. Like, I've accepted that it's never gonna be what I wished it was or what the little girl in me wished it was. And, you know, the fact that we were in the same space and they still weren't willing to get anywhere with me or try to have an understanding was all that I needed to know. And I think that just is going to help me move on even more in my life and in my future. So yeah, that is it. I think that's just gonna be my last, update on the situation. And yeah,